My brother insulted his wife at a family barbecue. She exposed her affair, left him on the spot, and his life unraveled until one reckless move got him arrested. So, here's the deal with my brother David. He's always thought he's the funniest guy in the room, but in reality, his sense of humor is more on the mean side. Yesterday, everything hit the fan big time at our family barbecue, and now it's just a big mess. Let me explain. David is 32, and he's been married to Sarah, who's 29, for about 6 years. Sarah's had a really tough time trying to get pregnant. She's been through 2 miscarriages over the last 4 years, which has been incredibly hard on everyone. But then Sarah got pregnant again, and this time she made it past that crucial early phase, so all of us were really hopeful and excited. David has this bad habit of making jokes that are really just mean comments. He's been doing this to Sarah pretty much since forever. The barbecue was supposed to be a happy day because Sarah's due in about 6 weeks, and we were celebrating the upcoming arrival. But David had been drinking all afternoon, and of course, he started with his typical inappropriate comments. It started out small, like it usually does. He joked about Sarah finally doing her job as a wife, and how he was proud his investment was paying off. Sarah looked uncomfortable, but didn't say anything because she knows arguing with David just makes him worse. The rest of us, my parents, my aunt and uncle, and my cousin, just awkwardly laughed it off like usual because confronting David never ends well. But as he kept drinking, it got worse. He began to make really hurtful comments about Sarah not messing this up like before, and that he was going to make sure she didn't do anything stupid to ruin this pregnancy. You could see Sarah was just devastated. She got up to go to the bathroom, visibly shaking. When she came back, David was talking to my dad about how he's going to raise his son to be tough and not weak like Sarah's family. Then he said something so outrageous to Sarah that it's burned into my memory. He suggested maybe she got pregnant by someone else because any man would do if it meant finally having a child. Everyone went silent, and Sarah just looked at him with a stare I'd never seen before. My dad was about to say something, but Sarah stopped him and calmly told David that he was right. The baby wasn't his, and that she's been having an affair with someone who treats her like a human being. She said she's done with pretending their marriage could work, and that she's done with being disrespected by him. She was leaving and taking the baby with her. Then she apologized to the rest of us and just walked out, leaving David sitting there looking like a stunned fish. David immediately started yelling for someone to go after her, claiming she was lying, but we were all too shocked to move. When he realized no one was going to chase her, he just got an Uber home. The rest of us sat in stunned silence for a good 20 minutes before everyone decided to leave. That was yesterday, and now David is crashing at my place because Sarah has changed the locks and won't talk to him. He's begging me to reach out to her and convince her to come back, saying she didn't mean the stuff about the affair. But I'm torn. I love my brother and want to support him, but the way he's treated Sarah over the years has been hard to watch. Maybe she finally hit her limit and fought back in the only way she knew would hurt him as much as he's hurt her. David keeps saying Sarah's being dramatic and that married couples should be able to joke around. But what he was doing wasn't joking. It was cruel and humiliating. I'm not sure what to do. David's my brother, and he's clearly heartbroken. But I can't shake the image of Sarah finally snapping. It was like watching someone come up for air after drowning. I'm not sure if I should help David try to patch things up or just stay out of it. Update. I've been getting a lot of questions, so here's a bit more background. Our family doesn't mistreat Sarah. This is all about David's behavior. We all really like Sarah, and my parents have always been kind to her. The real issue is David and how he behaves towards her, and we've never been able to effectively stop it. David's been unemployed for 3 years, and Sarah, as a nurse practitioner, has been supporting them. Despite this, David has the nerve to call her a gold digger and makes it sound like she's lucky to have him. He's joked about her being defective after the miscarriages and made horrible comments about her not being able to do the one thing women are supposed to. David acts like Sarah's his employee, giving her chores and getting mad if she doesn't do things his way. He expects her to handle all the housework even though she works long shifts. He embarrasses her in public by interrupting and dismissing her, and he tests her commitment with unreasonable demands. The comments about her pregnancies have been especially harsh. After her second miscarriage, he told people she keeps killing his children and wondered out loud if God was trying to tell them something. When Sarah cried, he just accused her of being dramatic. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with. All right, so here's the scoop. During this pregnancy, David's been trying to act all funny about the situation, making remarks about how he's going to keep Sarah in check, and even joking about hiring someone to make sure she follows the doctor's orders. He's also been telling folks that he's keeping his expectations low because, according to him, Sarah's let him down before. Ouch, right? Especially considering the poor woman has been through multiple pregnancy losses. Now don't get me wrong, I love my brother, and I've tried having heart-to-hearts with him about this stuff over the years. But David just doesn't see an issue. He thinks I'm twisting his words, and insists Sarah knows he's just joking. He even calls her overly sensitive and thinks she needs to lighten up. Whenever the family brings this up, he gets all defensive, like we're ganging up on him. He claims Sarah's just complaining to make him look bad, which is so not true because Sarah's been super loyal. She's never thrown him under the bus to us. Anyway, things hit the fan at this recent barbecue when Sarah finally snapped and said she's been having an affair. I mean, yikes, but not totally unexpected. I don't think having an affair was the right move, but I get why she felt that way, feeling trapped and needing emotional support that she wasn't getting at home. David's been crashing at my place since then, holding on to the hope that Sarah will cool off and come back. He's been asking me to call her and apologize on his behalf, but I'm not sure if that's my place. I'm torn because, yes, David is devastated, but maybe it's time he faces the music about how he's been treating Sarah. Fast forward a bit, and after some serious begging from David, I agreed to meet with Sarah. Little did I know that meetup would open a whole new can of worms. Sarah agreed surprisingly fast, which I didn't expect, considering everything. We met up somewhere way out of their usual stomping grounds, and it was clear Sarah was worn out and stressed like I'd never seen before. She wasted no time apologizing for the big reveal at the barbecue, explaining that she just couldn't keep pretending anymore, especially after David's nasty comments. Turns out she had been planning to leave but didn't know how. And David's barbecue comments about sharing her with others, gross, were the last straw. Sarah came clean about the affair, confirmed it's been happening for about 8 months with a co-worker turned confidant. She admitted it was wrong to have an affair and should have left David first, but felt trapped by his constant belittling. Oh, and plot twist, the baby isn't David's. She even had it verified by a doctor, so he's got no legal claim. The baby daddy's been on board and supportive, quite the opposite of David. When I asked about fixing things with David, she was firm. The marriage is over. She spent years trying to please him, but realized he wants someone to control, not a partner. She's not putting herself or her kid through that. Sarah also mentioned that David's been relentlessly messaging and showing up unannounced, which might even lead to a restraining order if it doesn't stop. She showed me some unsettling texts, proving David's not the person we see. He plays the victim publicly, but is controlling and emotionally draining in private. Sarah wants to stay close with our family, as we've always been good to her, but she gets that we might have to choose sides. I was honest with her. While I understand her decision, David is still my brother, and I have to prioritize helping him, even if I disagree with his actions. Sarah appreciated that and just hopes I can steer David toward getting professional help, as she's genuinely worried about his escalating behavior. We wrapped it up with Sarah asking me to let David know she hopes he finds happiness, but has no intention of going back. Back to David. He blew up when I shared what Sarah said, thinking I've been brainwashed by her. He's convinced it's all lies meant to hurt him and still believes he can talk her into coming back. But from what Sarah shared, she's made up her mind and isn't looking back. I'm at a loss here. David needs someone, but I don't want to encourage his negative behavior or make things tougher for Sarah. It might be time for him to face that the marriage is done and start focusing on his future. But he's not ready to hear that. It's a mess, and I'm just trying to figure out what to do. I had a chat with Sarah and let David know she wasn't budging on the divorce. David absolutely flipped out and bailed from my place in the middle of the night without even a hint of where he was headed. Next day, I found out he crashed at some sketchy motel and spent his time hopping between bars, trying to dig up dirt on Sarah's whereabouts from our mutual friends. Meanwhile, Sarah had cozied up at her sister's and wasn't spilling her location since David kept creeping around places he thought she'd be. It was really starting to freak her out. About a week after David took off, I got a call from a bartender asking me to come fetch him. Apparently, David got into it with another customer and was too sloshed to make it home. When I arrived, there he was, sitting outside the bar, sporting a black eye and a busted lip, swaying like he was on a rocking boat. The bartender said David had been hollering about his wife cheating and got rowdy when someone told him to pipe down. This scene became my life for the next few weeks. Random bars calling me to rescue David because he was either causing a scene or too plastered to walk straight. It was so unlike him. He'd never been much of a drinker. Seeing him this wrecked every day was alarming. He wasn't eating right or even taking basic care of himself. The worst of it was about 2 weeks back when he ended up in jail for assault. Some guy made a crack about his situation after eavesdropping, and David socked him, breaking his nose. I had to dip into my savings to bail him out, and he was totally unrepentant, saying the guy deserved it for disrespecting his marriage. Around this time, David also fell into gambling, seemingly out of nowhere. He started spending hours at a casino an hour away, coming back broke, begging me for money for essentials like food and gas. When I asked why he was gambling when he was broke, he said he was trying to win enough to hire a private investigator to prove Sarah was lying about an affair. His demands for cash got aggressive, and he'd even show up at my work, super embarrassing. When I told him to stop, he accused me of bailing on him during his darkest hour. Last week, my parents and I thought an intervention was necessary. We had him over for dinner and suggested he seek professional help. We were ready to help him find a therapist or a support group. But David blew up, saying we thought he was nuts. He blamed everything on Sarah, claiming he'd be fine if he could just win her back. When my dad gently reminded him that wasn't happening, David lost it, shouting and smashing a plate against the wall before storming out. He went AWOL for 3 days, which had us all on edge, especially since he had hinted at not having much left to live for, a terrifying thought. Dad tracked him down at his latest motel hideout, finding out David had skipped out without settling his tab. Finally, David called from yet another motel, sounding utterly defeated and exhausted. He was asking if Sarah would ever forgive him. When I told him I doubted it, he broke down crying, which I've never heard from him before. I'm at a loss on how to help him now. He refuses to see how his actions drove Sarah away and won't get professional help. Every talk ends with him begging me to contact Sarah or find a way to win her back. When I'm honest, saying it won't work, he gets mad, saying I don't care. But I love my brother. I want to be there for him. I'm realizing I can't solve this for him, and my help might actually be enabling his downward spiral. I'm considering stepping back until he's ready to seek help himself, but I'm scared of what might happen if we all back off. It's been draining for me, affecting my own mental health and my relationship with my boyfriend, who, although patient, is getting frustrated with how much time I'm spending on David's problems. I think I need to establish some boundaries, but I don't know how without feeling like I'm ditching him when he needs me most. And just when I thought it couldn't get any crazier, I'm hit with this update. David got arrested for trying to kidnap Sarah's newborn from the hospital, and I'm floored at how far he's fallen. Sarah had just had her baby girl and kept it quiet. But somehow, David found out. He showed up at the hospital, in scrubs he somehow got, claiming to be Sarah's brother. The hospital bought it until a nurse got suspicious when he tried to take the baby for routine tests. Security stopped him at the elevator, and he just broke down, screaming that the baby was his, no matter the biological father. He's now arrested for attempted kidnapping, trespassing, and harassment, which apparently he already had a restraining order against him for. I got the message to come down to the station because David wanted me, and they needed info on his mental state. Seeing him there was heartbreaking. He was a mess, both in appearance and spirit, insisting he did nothing wrong, just trying to see his daughter, even though everyone explained the baby wasn't his. It's like watching a real-life nightmare unfold. So, here's the scoop. No legal rights to the kid, but David kept going on about how Sarah had brainwashed everyone against him. He was adamant that the baby was his, regardless of any DNA test, because he was married to Sarah when she got pregnant. The cops told me Sarah was super shaken by what went down, and they had to move her to another hospital room for safety. Thankfully, the baby was okay, but David's erratic behavior had everyone worried about what might have happened if he had actually managed to leave the hospital with her. I asked the officer about the charges David could face, and she said it's a felony to attempt kidnapping. Given his recent track record of harassment, he was facing some serious jail time. They were also reviewing hospital security because David shouldn't have been able to get to Sarah's room so easily, especially with a restraining order in place. I spent like an hour at the police station trying to get through to David, but it was like talking to a stranger. He kept swinging between anger and crying about his life without Sarah. When I asked what his plan was, if he had left with the baby, he said he wanted to take her somewhere Sarah couldn't find them, thinking she would eventually come back to him. It was obvious David wasn't thinking straight and genuinely believed kidnapping the baby was the answer to fixing his marriage. After leaving the station, I called my parents, and they were just as shocked as I was. My dad wanted to get a lawyer, but my mom was all about how David's actions were criminal, and maybe jail time would make him face reality. I can't stop thinking about how close this came to harming a newborn and traumatizing Sarah even more. The scariest part? David still doesn't get that what he did was wrong, and he's blaming Sarah instead of owning up to his actions. I'm starting to think he needs some serious professional help. So, fast forward, and it's been 4 months since David's arrest. Last week, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison for attempted kidnapping, criminal trespassing, and breaking the restraining order. His lawyer tried to get a lighter sentence, citing David's mental state and clean record, but the judge pointed out that his actions put a baby at risk and showed a pattern of harassment needing real consequences. When David got his chance to speak, I hoped he'd show some remorse, but nope. He used his time to blame Sarah and claimed he was the real victim because of her infidelity. He insisted he never meant to hurt the baby. He just wanted to spend time with his daughter, even though everyone told him she wasn't biologically his. The judge wasn't having it, pointing out David showed no remorse and didn't get how his behavior impacted others. Sarah spoke too, and it was the first time I'd seen her since this mess started. She was calm and clear about how David's actions had affected her life. Sarah described living in fear and the emotional toll of his behavior. She asked the judge for a sentence that would protect her and her daughter and push David to get help. After the sentencing, Sarah's lawyer said she decided to leave town with her daughter and the baby's father for a fresh start where David couldn't find them. She got a job offer in another state, which seemed like the safest choice for her family. I spoke to Sarah afterward to apologize on behalf of my family, and she didn't hold anything against us. Sarah told me she named her daughter Luna, and she's growing up happy and healthy. Sarah's focus is on ensuring her daughter has a loving environment, far from David's toxic behavior. She wasn't keen on keeping in touch, as she wanted a clean break for her well-being and her daughter's safety. A few weeks ago, my parents and I visited David in jail. He still didn't get it, claiming everyone overreacted and blaming Sarah for moving away. I've started seeing a therapist to deal with all this and to understand my part in enabling David over the years. I realize now that always covering for him just stopped him from facing the consequences. I'm not sure what's next for David after prison, but I've decided not to enable his behavior further. He's got to learn to treat people right and take responsibility. As for Sarah and Luna, I genuinely hope they find peace and happiness in their new life, free from David's harassment. Sarah deserves so much better, and I'm glad she found the strength to move on and build a brighter future for her and her daughter.